Hello, welcome to Should I Buy This Game featuring LumiCora. My name is Christine, and in this video I'll give you an overview of how the game is played and then share a few things I may like or dislike about the game to help you decide if you want to add LumiCora to your collection. Here we have the game LumiCora, and in this game we are building up our coral reefs and then attracting animals to live on our coral reef to score the most points. So in this video, I'm going to talk about how you play the game, the overview of playing the game, then how you score the game, and as well, I came up with my own solo version of the game that I will share with you and then go into the things we liked and disliked about the game. So here we have the setup of the game, and you start with one random piece that is double two colors. All the other pieces will just be a single color. You have 4 pieces up here in your personal play area, and there's 4 pieces down in the atoll area. Here are your scoring tiles that will get turned over later. And then you have the scoring board. I've just left it the way our last game ended. And you have your round marker, your players, and then the limestone, which I'll talk about. Now, before I get into it, I just want to show you the board is double-sided. So once you get really good at the game, maybe you want to flip it over and give yourself even more of a challenge, because trying to move out all here would be a really big challenge. So there is room to grow in this game. So the gameplay is fairly straightforward. From your personal pile here, what you do is you're going to choose one of these pieces to place in the atoll. And I'm going to place this sort of green 4. Once I place that, I get the choice of 3 things. Because I placed a 4, I could choose to get 4 limestone. And you need limestone to expand where you're placing your pieces. Or I could place one of my remaining pieces onto my board. So even though I have 2 greens, I could only place 1 piece onto the board. Or I could get 1 to 3 pieces from the atoll, but it cannot be the same color as the piece I placed. So since I placed the green, I'm able to pick up these 3 pink pieces. Now when it comes to placement, if one of the colors are here on your starting, I need to place my pieces around that. So I may place a 6 here. And now that I've built that up, I could place another piece on top. And now I have built up my second layer. And then this one I could place just here for now. And that would be my first turn. Once you finish your turn, you want to refill your player board, and you want to make sure there's always 4 pieces in the atoll. And I just want to verify that when I took the 3 pink pieces, it was because they're all the same color. So currently down here, you could either take 2 green, 1 pink, or 1 purple. You can't take 3 random colors. So from there, it would move on to the next player. And once everybody takes their turn, you decide if you're going to score. And when you're scoring a color, it's based on layers. So on my bottom layer here, I have a 4 and a 6. So right now, it would actually, you score the lower numbers. So I would only score 4, not the 6. And then this is another layer, so I would score 3. So if I was to score, I would score 7. But because we're early in the game, my goal is to try and cover up that 4 and maybe replace it with a different number, or add another layer and more numbers maybe to it. So I'm not ready to score yet. And so all we do is move the player to the next. Now, since we're over here, when you score a color between the 1 to 4 rounds, you actually receive 4 limestone. When you score between 5 to 7, you get 2. And then if you score at the end, you get 1. So it's very beneficial to try to score once or twice during this area so you can get the limestone and not have to use a turn to get it. So when it comes back around, you just repeat those same things that we just did. So looking down there at the green, maybe I'll switch up a color. So maybe I would put a pink in this time, knowing I want a green since there's two of those. And so I can take the green and decide, again, maybe what I will do is, because there's no green on the board, I'm able to put my green where I want it for the first time. And then I would put this one on top to touch it. So maybe I would do something like this. So right there I have 7 points ready to score. And you just, as I said again, we would refill. And refill down here. And everybody would go. So since we're here, maybe this time I decide I am going to score. And so, as I mentioned before, I wouldn't get the 6, I would just get the 7. So when you score, all you're doing is you have to turn over the color, because you can only score each color once, and then you would score 7 points. Now later, what you can do is if you have one of these turned over, you're able to use it to change out the atoll. So say if there's no tiles in here that you're wanting, you can refresh get rid of them all and put 4 new tiles out. However, if you keep this and not do that, then it's worth 2 points at the end of the game for any turned over tiles. And that's basically how the game is played. I just want to add that since I scored in round 2, I would have received 4 pieces of limestone. And so I just want to show you how you use how or why you use the limestone. So if I had this purple piece, say, and I wanted to place it over here, this here is water, so it has to be filled in with the limestone. So if I was covering here, I would need to use 2 pieces and return it. If I was, say, covering it up here where 1 piece is still limestone and then this is water like this, then I would only need 1 piece. And that is why you need the limestone. Once you want to start building out into this area, you have to make sure you have one to cover wherever you're going to put your piece. Now I'm going to talk about the scoring. And I'll start just by scoring this green here for you. This was the last piece I had scored in my game. Now because I have this on layer 1, 2, and then this is actually layer 4 and 5, I can score all of those numbers. So it would have been worth 15 points for the green. Then over here on this board, you can see there's end of round. So you get 2 points for every jellyfish. You get 1 point for every 2 limestone you have left over. And then it comes into these. So based on how many you have to a maximum of 4, you will receive points. So back over here for the shells, I had 1, 2, 3 shells. So I would receive 4 points. So with the crabs, I only had 1 crab. So therefore it's 2 points. And then the seahorses, I had 1, 2, 3, 4 seahorses, which is the maximum. And the seahorses gave me 12 points. Now there's also these stars, but the stars are basically on the 1 point pieces. And there's not many stars in there. It always seems that Mark seems to find them, and the minute he sees them, he takes them. I have yet to have a star when I played, but these stars, one is worth 4, then 8, 11, and 14 points. So if you can get your hands on these, they'll be a lot of points. The next is for majority. So whoever has the most of each color receives 4 points, and the second person receives 2 points. If 2 people are tied for the most, then they get 3 points each, and there is no second place. In one of our games, 2 of us were tied for second, so we just gave, each of us took 1 point. And so when you're layering it, it's good. You want to score some colors early, like you don't even see orange, because I scored it first and then I covered it. Because you want to keep these images are important as you go. And it's also good building up. And so you have to keep that in mind when you're placing things. Like I placed these 2 3s together, so potentially I could have placed another tile over it. Because after I score them, I no longer care about the numbers. They only matter at that moment when you're scoring. After that, you can cover up all the numbers you want, and you're trying to fill it in with the different sea animals. And that is basically how you score. You get little tiles. So if you go over 50, you can go 50. And if you go over 100. So far, my highest personal score has been 91. But we played it, my made up solo version. We played it with 2 players and 3 players. And that's the other thing too with this game is the player count we find doesn't really affect your play. So it plays up to 4 people. And because once you take your tiles, the next person can start their turn. It doesn't add that much extra time with the more people you have, unless, of course, they are really trying to think of what pieces to take. But otherwise, the game moves fairly quickly. This game is rated for 2 to 4 players, but I want to see if I'd be able to play it by myself. And so what I've done is I play normally. So we're back to this setup. So we have these 4 here. And what I just came up with is I would remove 2 pieces each round. So right now there's 3 pinks. So I would either remove, if there's the same color, 2 of them, or in this case, the last 2 colors in the row. So I would put those out of the game as if my opponent took them. I would move these up, and then I would put 2 new pieces here. So then when I go to play again, maybe I'm going to add the purple. I forgot I have 4 things. I'm going to give myself my limestones back that I had. So if I'm going to add a purple, maybe I will use one of these 3. So I would put it to this side of the atoll. And I'm going to take the 2 purples, and maybe I will I had already scored the pink, so I could put one there, and that will cost me 2 limestones because it was on 2 water spots. Then I can put this one here. So then I would move these up, and I would refill my board and refill this board. And then maybe I would take the 2 green out of the game, move that over, and put 2 more pieces. And so that way the pieces are being changed up. And that's the main part when you play with people, is that all these pieces in the atoll keep getting changed because people are putting a piece in and taking pieces out. So as long as you have your own system of changing these pieces up, then you basically can play the game solo. So as I said, this is an unofficial thing, just a variant I came up with. So if I wanted to play this game by myself, I'd be able to easily play it and still get variation in the pieces that are given to me. As I mentioned, I played this game with Mark and Gemma, and all 3 of us really enjoyed playing. And so the first thing I just want to point out is that this game is actually connected with the Global Nature Fund. And so in the back of the rule book, there's some education about coral reefs. And then part of the proceeds go in to help fund the Global Nature Fund. They donate some of the money. So it's just nice knowing that when you're buying a game, you're actually being educated and helping the environment. So this game is really easy to set up. It's quick, and it's a game you can teach to anybody. So even if you have new gamers, you can pull this out, and I think anybody would really enjoy it. It only takes about 30 to 45 minutes to play, so it's an easy game in terms of length. However, there's still enough strategy. Because you are building up the layers and you are choosing when you want to score, you have to make those decisions. And so there's enough strategy in when to score, collecting your end of game bonuses, and just deciding what you're choosing when you're choosing. Some of obviously the pieces available to you is luck of the draw, but there's usually something that you can add to your board that will help progress you along and gain points. So I know there are some other games out there that have a similar stacking tile idea. I personally haven't played them, so I can't compare them to some of these other games. However, this is our first game in our collection with the stacking, and we've really enjoyed this game and the strategy that comes with it. Now, a few things that frustrated us about the game is the fact that when you play, you can only play one from your personal area. Like right now, I have one of each color, but sometimes you have like 3 of a color that you really want to play, and you're only allowed to play one. And so we understand the concept, but sometimes we really wish that we could play like 2 or 3 from our personal, not just the one. The next one would be using a turn to get limestone. This game is short, which is the other thing. It's only 10 rounds. And in 10 rounds, you only play 10 turns. You don't have multiple turns per round. And so it's a really tight game. And so if you have to use one of your turns in one of the rounds just to get limestone, that can be a little frustrating. So it's very important to try and score up here so you can get limestone here so you don't have to do it on a turn. And as I said, our third thing was the fact that it's only 10 rounds. Maybe if it was 15 rounds, it just would allow you to progress a bit further on your player board and build it out. So maybe going forward, when we personally play with just our family, maybe we'll just add a few more rounds so we can prolong the game a bit more and try to get a bit further. But as the rules go, it's a 10-round game. So overall, though, we really enjoy playing LumiColor. You let me know in the comments if it is similar to some of those other games. I think it's called Reef or something, where they layer. I know some has layers animals on top of one another, like fish and that, to a shark. But let people know, do you think it's a similar gameplay? Do you think it's completely different gameplay? I'd love to know. And what you think of the game LumiColor. Or Coral, LumiCoral, sorry.